Good morning, everyone. Mazal Tov to Lucas, the Bar Mitzvah. Mazal Tov to the Heinrich family, the Sanders family, and to everyone here. Everyone is welcome. Everyone's welcome to go wash and celebrate the Simcha. We are beginning a shir now, and it's being recorded. So we're going to get started. You want to go sit there? That's okay. It'll scare him. So Mazal Tov, we have a Bar Mitzvah, but we're going to learn. You want to wash and eat. Otherwise, come join the shir. The shir is about 10 minutes long, and we'll get started right now. This is gonna be a little challenging. Okay, today is of course Tu Bshevat, Chamisha B'Shvat, the 15th day of the month of Shvat. I'm joined here by my special assistant Shana, and today is January 25th. In today's lesson, Hashem doesn't speak, it's a metaphor. Hashem's speech is always united and part of Hashem. Just when we speak, it becomes separate from us. Charlie, you ready with me? We're on page 100 in the Chayim. Hashem's speech would be analogous to how letters are contained in a person's intention and initial desire. They're one within the person. The letters are there, but they're not expressed until the person articulates them. Guys, you with me? Steve, Dave, ready? Just give me 10 minutes, okay? Hashem's speech and thought are united with him in absolute unity. A person starts to formulate a word in his mind, but when it's in his heart and it's in his thoughts, they haven't come out yet. They're still a part of him. They're very much a part of him. So before he actually expresses them, they're inside his wisdom and his intellect. Or as they exist in a desire and a craving in the heart. My daughter's in Australia. We very much want to see her. Right now it's in the heart. There's nothing you could do about it. So they're still in the heart before they have a chance to rise up to the brain, and you're going to meditate and start figuring out how are we going to make the connection and the union, the connection happen, meaning how are we going to get together? We're going to have to wait a few months. She's going to get on a plane. She's going to come see us. I think she's watching on the share right now. And she put a heart on the thing. So at that point, when you think of something, let's say we're having a big Bar Mitzvah breakfast now. So we want to go eat. We want to enjoy that big cream cheese bagel. Right now, it's just in our mind. How do we translate that into action? We have to go wash, figure it out. We have to build the sandwich, Jeff, right? Spread down the cream cheese, put down the lox, put a tomato, sprinkle a little salt, cucumbers. Don't forget the cucumbers. And then, so it becomes potential. It becomes actual once it reaches its full potential. They were absolutely unified with the person in his wisdom and intellect and longing and desire in his heart. They didn't come out in any way yet. Okay? By the way, just as a side note, it's a little challenging today because there are a lot of people here. There's a big celebration which we're going to join momentarily. If you don't have your phone on mute, please put your phone on mute. Please put your phone on mute. Thank you. In the case of a mortal, his thought and speech are completely unified with him before he speaks. Here's the difference between, obviously there's many differences between us and Hashem, but the difference between Hashem's speech and our speech, when Hashem thinks about those thoughts and then he articulates those thoughts out loud, everything is completely unified. Our thought and our speech are unified before we speak. And at that point, the letters bring out his thought and speech. They're telescope. In the case of Hashem, his thought and speech remain unified with him even after He thinks and he speaks it. They're always within their source. You can think certain thoughts, but then when you think a new thought, the old thought usually goes away. With Hashem, that doesn't happen. It's always a part of him. And so too the speech. Hashem thinks in speech, his thoughts in his speech. God is omnipresent. As the Alter Rebbe concludes, precisely by way of an analogy, Hashem's speech and thought are absolutely united with his essence, even after he spoke and the world came into being. Still everything, his thoughts and the words that came out and the world that he created, are all one with him. Nothing changed at all. But for us, that we received Hashem's energy, vitality, now we're alive, we have our neshama, we're breathing, we're going to eat, we're having, we have a lot of things to do today. We feel like we're separate from Hashem. We feel. Important stress on feel. That's our perception. But from God's perception, there is no change whatsoever. Alvaro, please put your phone on mute. Please put your phone on mute. Thank you.
How you do that?
Please put your phone on mute, Alvaro.
Mute. Okay.
Yeah, mute.
You don't know how to do that.
Well, figure it out.
All right.
Okay, let me see if I can do it. I got it. Mute. Okay, done. Now, the ancient Shina Cloud, for Hashem, there's no change whatsoever. For us, we feel like there's a change. With created beings, the revelation of created power contained in Hashem words represents the greatest possible change. Hashem decided there's going to be creation that feels independent, that feels that it has its own willpower and its own free choice. That's great. That's the way Hashem wants it to be. He created from non-existence to existence. Since they come into being only when Hashem's word begins to actually create the worlds. From Hashem's perspective, nothing changed. But when Hashem gives the worlds that life and everything in the world, even a table has life. We don't look at it that way. But if it didn't have the life from Hashem to exist, it wouldn't exist. This process, this is a whole series of events that takes place, a whole process that goes from a high level to a lower level and downward gradation by means of numerous and various contractions, symptomim. God has to hide his divine light and energy so that we could exist. Otherwise, it would be too powerful and we wouldn't. It would be like being too close or looking in the sun. We couldn't handle it. So Hashem had to remove himself to the extent that we sometimes don't feel God. We don't see God. People can even say that God doesn't exist. That's how far removed we are from the revelation of God's light and from experiencing godliness. Hashem's word descends so far to the point that the created beings can derive their life force and existence without losing their identity. We feel as if we're something, we feel as if we're a created being, but ultimately we have to remember that only Hashem is the true creation, is the true it, is only, and we are just temporarily, we have our own identity. Hashem wants us to feel that way, and that's fine. But God does not change whatsoever. And the takeaway for today is creation is a divine manifestation. We look around, there is godliness in everything and in everyone. No matter how bad a person could be, no matter how dirty the animal is, no matter how tiny the bug is, and no matter how simple something may be as like a table or a rock, God is keeping it in creation. So from our perspective, we feel like we're something, and this goes back to what we were saying before, that Hashem had to speak the words to bring everything into existence. From Hashem's perspective, nothing changes. Even the thought process is all part of Hashem. From our perspective, we feel alive because Hashem contracted himself so much that we feel as if we're a separate, independent entity. And we'll go more into this idea and discussion tomorrow as we are still in chapter 21. Tomorrow, Friday, we conclude chapter 21 just before Shabbos. Everyone, don't forget to eat a special fruit from Eretz Yisrael. Today is the 15th day of the month of Shvat, the New Year for trees. And often people are compared to trees, a tree in the field. As the Gemara says, Ki Adam Eitz HaSodeh, that when we have very strong roots and faith in Hashem, it's as if just like a tree with strong roots does not get blown over by a simple gust of wind or even a strong wind, so too a person who has strong faith in Hashem will not get deterred by the challenges and by the mistakes he made and by the embarrassment he may receive or the frustration that he may encounter during the day. And another thing is, especially now that today is a Bar Mitzvah, and maybe I'll say this to the family, but when we plant a little seed, we take care of it in the first few weeks and months and years. We're very careful to make sure and watch it grow and keep on changing the water and the soil and watching it and making sure it's protected. As it gets older and stronger, it then has those strong roots that we spoke of, the roots of faith, and it could stand alone on its own. But when it's nurtured extensively and carefully and meticulously, when it's young, then when it's older, it blossoms into a beautiful tree, and then it's able to bring its own fruit into the world and then nurture its own fruit and create future generations as well. So l'chaim, everyone. Mazal Tov to the Baal Simcha, and have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow.